people want to go around, just kind of tell me a little bit about who you are and what you're doing in Michigan, so I know what you're up to. You want to start with Patty?
I'm Patty. I'm working for Hedera Health in Westland. And I'm a certified peer support ambassador for Detroit Wayne.
For the what? The
ambassador.
What job? What kind of job is that?
Just no, the ambassador is just for promote the service for the Detroit Wayne.
Okay.
Yeah, but my work, my main work is work as a peer in Westland for Hedera Health.
All right. Detroit.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Good to meet you. Okay, and let's go on down there to Ann Hawkins. Is that or Brooke? You there? Brooke's there. Hi, Brooke.
How are you, Mo? Hi, Jean. I haven't seen you in forever. It's good to see these faces.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Brooke Westbrook. I've been a peer support since 2009. I was blessed to be trained by Jean as one of the people, right alongside with Mo. And I work at the Guidance Center in Southgate, and just still rocking it out.
Where is Southgate at?
So we're south of Detroit.
South of Detroit. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just south of Detroit. We service Detroit as well. Wayne
Okay.
County.
And there's a Hawkins here. Who else would like to introduce themselves?
Hi, Ken. My name is Joe Vantoff. I work for Ottawa County Community Mental Health, and I am a recovery coach in the local jail here.
Oh, great. Good job. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else here want to say who you are?
I'm Rick. I'm recovery coach at Community Mental Health Authority for Clinton, Ingham County here in Lansing. And I'm
right.
eating my lunch, so I'm disappearing.
That's all right. You know, hey, look, and I grew up with John Deere tractors, and you know, I'm from Western Illinois originally, Keokuk, Iowa, up there, Moline. That's where all the John Deere tractors are made. All right, who else is here? Doug Brinker, that's you.
What up, comrade?
Comrade.
To those that don't know, Mo and I, we spent this amazing man spent great time doing vet to vet for several months. I learned so much, and we have built a bonded relationship that will last forever. I'm Doug Brinker. I'm from Lifeways, certified peer. I'm also the Department of Michigan Veterans of Foreign Wars Mental Health and Veterans and Military Support Director and founder of Beacon for Hope, LLC, a suicide prevention speaking service. And I'm 176 days away from retiring here at Lifeways, but never a peer.
Never a peer. Once a peer, always a peer.
That's right, like a Marine, just like you.
It is. I wouldn't say, yeah. Well, that's kind of worked out against him. That hasn't worked out in my favor, but all right. Who else is on this? Let's see. Who else haven't I met?
I'm
Gary?
Chantal.
Oh, wait, who?
Chantal Speck. I'm
Okay.
a peer at Newaygo County Mental Health.
And where is that at?
Newaygo is just north of Muskegon.
Okay. Up, yeah. Okay. Up north, kind of. All right. Who else?
Kind of central a little.
Central. Okay.
I'm Kate Sutherland. I'm a peer support specialist and recovery coach at Gratiot Integrated Health Network in Elma, Michigan. And I'm on vacation in Minnesota right now, but I want to.
That's a real tent you're in?
No, it's not.
Oh.
I'm actually at my sister's house, which was really nice, but.
All right. Anybody else here who I haven't met?
I'm Deb Gossett. I am a peer recovery mentor with Hagera Health in Wayne County, and I'm currently in Detroit.
Okay, good. A lot of people from Detroit. All right, Dave.
Hi there. My name is Dave. I'm a peer
Uh-huh.
recovery coach with Dawn Farm in Ann Arbor.
All right.
Hi, I'm Connie Wolf and I'm from Gratiot Integrated Health Network. Kate, I'm glad you're enjoying your vacation. And we're here in Alma in Gratiot County.
Where is that located?
An hour north of Lansing, about an hour north.
Okay. Boy, it's so Canadian. You guys are so wild up there. You know what I mean? It's just people don't realize how wild Michigan is.
We have
You
to
know?
drive south to get to Canada.
The what, Gene?
We drive south to get to Canada from here.
Yeah, that's true. You got crossover. Well, this guy, I'll get into that. This guy that I'm working with on a computer app that's for people who have psychiatric disabilities, right? He's developing this new computer app with this company, and Click Therapeutics are called. He's from Windsor. So, Pam and I went to Windsor several times. Hey, Pam. So this new techie that I'm working with, this big high-tech company, that they're developing this new app that's going to be like, it is a lot of fun. It kind of it schedules people's day and makes it fun scheduling the day so people can get out and do things. He's from Windsor.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just want to say something. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You weren't on my sheet, so I'm not sure who you are.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
My name is Moe Armstrong, and this is a workshop that's going to be with me today.
And what is the topic?
Topic is about peer support work and peers in general, and just a conversation about that. I started doing peer work in 1984. It was to keep veterans in school, and it was very successful. Then I worked for the state of New Mexico and did peer support in the state of New Mexico, and myself and a fellow named Howie the Harp, who was one of the first peer specialists also in the United States, came out with me and New Mexico. And then we set up peer support all across New Mexico, the state of New Mexico, which is really expansive. Gallup, Albuquerque, Carlsbad, you name it, Las Cruces. If it was New Mexico, we set it up. And then in 1993, I got offered the job to come to Massachusetts and set up peer support for the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Boston, and the entire area. And Boston, it was so funny because I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, right? So I thought, well, a big city, like, hey, I'm big cities, I got it down. I'm from Albuquerque, and I got to Boston. It was just like total shell shock. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. People driving, so just in Boston, I had to do 1,000 miles a month setting up peer support. And then after that, I got a job with the Veterans Administration to set up peer support for the United States of America. So then I traveled all across America and set up peer support within the VA called Vet to Vet, and that's still going. So
wow, that's awesome. Thank you.
That's who I am. Yeah, that's who I am, and that's what I did. And so I thought that many of you out there, since you're working in this, right, would like to maybe, talk to me about what you're doing, what you're learning, and Gene and Bob, talk to me about what you're doing and what you're learning. And I had terminal stage 4 cancer 2.5 years ago, and I thought I was going to die. And so some of you I never thought I'd see again in my life, and I'm so glad to see you, Gene and Bob and Pam. I didn't think I'd make it. I'm just so grateful to be alive and see you one more time, even though it's on the internet. It really means a lot to me. I wanted to say that right at the top. And you too, Pam. God bless you. Thank you. So I'm kind of a whiny guy, I guess, but that's who I am. I'm Moe Armstrong. I'm a whiny guy who does peer support and still does it today. As a matter of fact, now I do peer support with the city of New York on the internet. Let's go around and find out if there's any more people that haven't introduced themselves, please. So I get to know everybody.
Mo, I'm sure you know me. I sure know
you
you.
do. It's so
I-
good.
I,
I'm wearing your
watch the thing
t-shirt.
on-
I'm wearing your t-shirt.
Yeah, I watched a thing on TV and it was Vince Lombardi, you know, and I don't know if everybody knows who Vince Lombardi, but you know, he was the head of the Packers for so long. And he said it best for me. He said, I come to tears easy. And I said, no, I do that. In my life, I've always said, I'm a ball baby, you know.
Yeah.
That's the wrong thing for me to say. Mine is I come to tears easy, and I love that. And so me saying that, I you know, have had the privilege of listening to you, but the first time I heard you, I wasn't expecting too much. I'll tell you the truth. And I had to sit outside your door because I was greeting other people when you started your talk, and I'm going, oh my God, you know. And by the end of the day, I was to tears easy because you are brilliant.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to know you. I'll shut up.
Well, thank you. I'd say I'm just so glad I get to see everyone again. For me, it's just been, you know, you in Michigan have meant so much to me over the years. I mean, it's almost been like my second home, you know. I mean, many times Heidi and I even thought of just going to Michigan and just calling it a lifetime. So, but now I'm not going anywhere. I'm just staying next to doctors. I have so many medical appointments, which is good. You know, everybody's trying to save my life. The VA and Yale School of Medicine. Everybody's trying to save my life. I'm grateful. I have no complaints. And they've done it. They've saved me so far. So I have, but it is good to see you. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is William.
Hey, how's it going, William?
I'm good. You touched my heart. You know, I'm one of those people that I cry at the drop of a pen when I'm happy. I cry at the drop of a pen when I'm angry. I'm a very emotional guy, and I have not always been very emotional. I've been clean for the last 16 years, and all these emotions just came up out of nowhere the last 16 years. And so I'm the guy that cried at the Wizard of Oz when Dorothy had to go home. So yeah. I'm a crier too.
I might have wanted to stay. I might have not have wanted. I probably wouldn't want to move to Kansas. Michigan's great, but you know, Kansas. You know what? See, I grew up in the Midwest. You know, 18 years. So Illinois, and my uncle lived in Kansas, and so God, you know, Illinois was hot enough. You know, I mean, you guys are kind of like Wisconsin. So when it got too hot in Illinois, people would go north to Wisconsin or north to Michigan. You know, like I think I spent like a lot of my childhood at the dunes on the Great Lake, you know, which is in Michigan. You know, that's when Carl Sandburg still lived there, even. So that was a long time ago. That would have been before 1962. And so, you know, you guys were always like, if you wanted to go to a fresh climate but Kansas just never seemed to get fresh. It was just always hot and miserable. All right, who else do we have? And you're from what city there, William?
I am here in Detroit, born and raised in Detroit.
Born and raised in Detroit.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Ryan, peer support specialist from Gresham Integrated Health Network. That's in Elma. And I also am a vet, but I'm a decade or 4 younger than you.
So which military service were you in?
I was in the Air Force from 5 to 13. So
yeah, good. You know, I'm a big believer. If I was doing it again, I'd bring back the draft, have everybody serve 2 years Peace Corps, Conservation Corps or military, really. I think, having jobs, planting trees. I mean, they talk about global warming, but nobody wants to do anything about it. I mean, it's pretty simple. We just need to have thousands of people planting things. Just start planting quick, as much as we cleaning rivers and lakes and planting trees, as far as I can tell. I mean, I'm not like a environmental scientist, but I did work on farms at one time. And that's what I do. So yeah, at least you served, and that's good. I think you had that experience. It's a very equalizing experience. Okay, who else is on here?
Hi, Mo. I am Becky West from Lansing Community Mental Health. I've been following you for many, many years. I want to thank you for all your work. I love following you on Facebook.
Oh, thanks.
I was a military wife for 8 years for the Air Force, and then my son-in-law is serving as a Marine in California. So
Where? Camp Pendleton?
yes, yep.
Yeah, I was stationed there 2 years, Camp Pendleton.
Yep. So thank you for all your advocacy and everything that you've done. You're pure inspiration.
Well, thanks. I always felt that there was room for us, as peers. It's funny, the photo of Pam looks like Pam in life, so it looks like the same person. Okay, so my name's Moe Armstrong, and I really didn't start off as a peer. I started off as a football player in the Midwest. So we got the football player in the Midwest, and I love playing football. And then in 1962, I won the state twist contest. Remember, there was that song, The Twist? Come on, baby, let's do the twist. And I got into that. And then after that, I wrote the school musical. So I was kind of a kooky guy, right? I was captain of the football team, still hold the conference record in tackles, but every year I'm singing and dancing in the school musicals at the Bushel Prairie City spring shows. So in 1962, I went into the military. Like most of you, the military or friends that or anything else, the military is kind of my ticket right out. I mean, the only other job I had was just working at the hammer factory, which is making hammers for Sears and Roebuck for years and years and years and years. And so I didn't want to, I didn't want to do that. And so I went into the military, and things were going good. I went in and I got into a unit called Recon, which is a really elite unit in the Marine Corps. And I went to all the not jump schools, but mountain climbing schools, scuba schools. I did all the schools that I could possibly do in Recon. And I was in top physical condition, and I had football scholarships, when I came out of the Marine Corps. And then all of a sudden Vietnam came along. And then I was in Vietnam. I was actually we were the first firefight in Vietnam, April 22nd, 1965. I get into Vietnam, and, of course, I had been prepared. I'd been taught and I had instructed. Actually, I was, as a medical corpsman, I've been a medical corpsman, Navy medical corpsman with Marine Corps Recon. So I was adept at also guerrilla warfare. I'd studied guerrilla warfare. I studied the books by Che Guevara. I also instructed guerrilla warfare, first medical corpsman to instruct in the Marine Corps for decades. And so, and I had these commanding general masts, and I had all this kind of, I had a career, military career if I wanted it. And I did want it at that time. But then Vietnam came along. And of course, I got thrust into combat, a lot of combat, like 20 combat missions in a year. And I get all these decorations, and I just kept going into combat. And of course, I always tell people I was prepared to never break down. If there was ever a person who was prepared to never break down, it was me, right? I mean, I was the epitome of fitness, physical and mental. And then I broke down. So I always tell people that this can happen to anybody, anytime, anywhere. Just be prepared. The problem is, and I'm finding the same problem is true with cancer, is we don't know what to do with people after the breakdowns. We don't know what to do with people after the cancer treatments are over, right? We just kind of think that everybody's going to magically heal ourselves, or we'll walk away, or we'll be who we were before. All these doctors, I mean, that was I found that to be true with the cancer thing too. When I got released from the cancer treatments, everybody said to me, well, now you can go out and eat what you want to again. And I said, well, sir, I don't think I can do that again, because, you know, my whole body's jammed up, you know, I mean, I can't digest it. I mean, lucky I don't have a colonoscopy bag, you know? So, you know, everybody kept thinking that, you know, I was supposed to go back and be what I was and who I wanted to be before I had this psychiatric break, and same with cancer. And so what I did was I kind of found a niche in music. I got released from the psychiatric hospital in Oakland, California in 1966, about February, March 66. And it was an amazing time because it was before the hippies, but the music had started in San Francisco. And I love music. Remember, I won the state twist contest when I've been a kid, you know, over there in Bushnell. Won it with WLS. Dick Biondi from WLS put on this statewide twist contest in Illinois, and I ended up winning this twist contest for the state. But beat the kids from Chicago. It was a big thing, you know, winning a downstate farm kid, beating the kids from Chicago as a dance guy. And so, you know, I love music, and so I got to the Bay Area, and all of a sudden, all that was just happening. There was this Jefferson Starship, and there was the Jefferson Airplane, it was called then, and the Grateful Dead, and Country Joe McDonald, and all of a sudden I'm seeing all these groups live, you know, and for me, I mean, that was like just huge. So I started working in music, and in music, really nobody cared if I was a little askew. I mean, most of you know, if you've had a psychiatric condition, any kind of mental health condition, we're kind of left a little askew, you know, it's almost like attention deficit disorder, you know, like things are kind of delayed in the thought process, or things are kind of, that things don't always work in the sequence that it works for other people. And so for me, I'm trying to learn how to navigate through life with this new condition, right? And of course, I'm hearing things, you know, which aren't there, and that's not very helpful either. That's absolutely terrifying. I find nothing romantic about that at all. And so I meet a guy, the first guy I meet, he was still my friend. He was actually born the same day, June 25th, born 3 years later. He would have been a senior in high school when I was a freshman, John Cannell, and he also had schizophrenia. So he said to me, he said, look, if you put on, even now I've got white noise to my right, I've got fans going. He said, if you put on white noise, it reduces the auditory stuff down to a minimum. And I thought, oh my God, you know, I've got to try this. So back in that would have been 1966, 67, I'm meeting people all through San Francisco. I'm working in concerts, I'm setting up music. And then I go out to New Mexico. People wanted me to go out to New Mexico to find a place for the Grateful Dead. I don't know if, for those of you, you know, the Grateful Dead, that's a musical group out of San Francisco. So I went out to New Mexico to find this house for the Grateful Dead. And I stayed in New Mexico. The Grateful Dead never went to New Mexico. And I stayed out there for about 3 years in the woods, just as a hermit, getting my life together in the mountains where it was quiet and peaceful. And can everybody see me on the screen? Am I good? Am I good with you? And so I got out there to New Mexico. Grateful Dead's the best. Well, yeah. That's, you know, I ended up knowing them. I ended up knowing Jerry Garcia and very well for a month or so. I was over at his house several times. Anyway, so I got out to New Mexico and I stayed there, and we had been kind of street singers, singing songs on the street. Hey, I've been overjoyed since I've been unemployed. Every day it's getting better. I won't be here long because I know something's wrong. If I don't soon get her letter, she's so far away up in Colorado, working for someone else, even though the place for her to be is right here by me in old New Mexico. So we'd sing songs like that, you know, on the streets of San Francisco, and I'd pass the hat. And this record producer came out there to New Mexico and discovered us and took us to England. Got to England, and then I did a record contract with Warner Brothers Records in England. but I couldn't, you know, when we were touring and God almighty, man, we were famous. And I mean, we were doing everything and going everywhere and being everybody's favorite little group. And, you know, the really, I mean, we went from nothing to the top, but I couldn't hold it together. You know, I still had this residual stuff from the Vietnam War. You know, I didn't, of course, you know, nobody knew what post-traumatic stress was. I knew I had a psychiatric, I knew something was askew with me psychiatrically because I had already chosen not to work in what I would call tradition. Like I wouldn't have done good in a factory environment, assembly line stuff. So that's why I chose music. You know, I could be spontaneous and free and work around it. So, you know, I couldn't handle it anymore. And I went back to New Mexico and I put together puppet shows and I toured doing a medicine show with the puppets, the marionettes, and I toured communes and I went there and then went back to San Francisco and I worked as a clown and I got money in San Francisco working as a clown. And then after that, I went to Colombia to South America and I put together another rock and roll band. And then I came back to San Francisco and started working in a record store. Not just working in a record store. I started a record store with about 4 or 5 of us. Leopold's Records and Tapes. It's now Amoeba in Los Angeles and San Francisco. Amoeba Records, and I did that for a long time until about 1984. And in 1984, I could see where I wasn't gonna. I could see I was 40 years old then, 1984, and I'd never been to college, never had a degree, never really. I didn't think I was college material, and I had applied several times to the Veterans Administration to go to college, to go and get a university degree. And of course, the VA, of course, still saw me as a mental patient. You know, they didn't see me as a groovy guy from the streets, like doing all these wonderful things in music. They just saw me as a disheveled mental patient. And so what they did was they refused to pay me to go to school. I got turned down 3 times for college. The 4th time I got accepted and I went to college and I went back to New Mexico to go to school. And I did 2 master's degrees and a bachelor's degree, 250 some credits, and graduated valedictorian in my class and had 2 master's degrees and a bachelor's degree. But during that time when I was going to school, other veterans were washing out. As a matter of fact, most of the veterans that the VA was paying to go to school weren't doing well. And I realized that we weren't doing well because nobody was helping us, right? So then what I did was I started like working with other veterans. And that's how I first started doing peer support in 1984. Was setting up little support meetings so we could all work together, and especially veterans, especially almost anybody who has any kind of psychiatric condition. Sometimes we blow too hot, you know, and we get too angry or we're too emotionally rocky for folks. And so, you know, these support meetings, then we could work together with each other, and then we could come in kind of settled and we could work around and get people to help us in the school so that we could maintain ourselves in the class. So we went from about 100% failure rate to 100% success rate. And Bill Richardson, who was a congressman at the time, later he became secretary to the UN and several other, governor of New Mexico even later. He wrote me up in the congressional report, and I had all these newspaper articles, and I was doing TV about this peer support. And so people said to me, well, why don't you do peer support for the state of New Mexico? So I said, okay, I'll do peer support for the state of New Mexico. So I met Gilberto Romero, who is still my friend today, as a matter of fact, and he and I are going to be on we're on a group of 160 people that are working with SAMHSA now to redevelop or to redefine, or I would just like to implement mental health services that we already need to have happen. So Gilberto and I are going to be reunited after all this time, and with this SAMHSA group that we're meeting with next week. And so Gilberto met me, and then I started to do peer support across New Mexico, and I set it up. all through the state. And then in 1993, I got an offer from Massachusetts to come to Massachusetts and set up peer support in Massachusetts. And then I set it up there, and then it rolled out from Boston all across Massachusetts. Massachusetts has a lot of rural areas. It's not a big city, you know, like Connecticut. I live in Connecticut now. It's also very rural, a lot of small farms. And so, you know, going into all these little villages and meeting all these people in all the mental health centers in all these rural areas, and also working in the big urban areas. And after that, then I did peer support for the VA, and I started doing that. That would have been what, 2006 now? 2006, something like that, 2007. I started doing peer support with VA and setting those up all across the country. And I that's still, I think, very successful. As a matter of fact, with that, we had 3 research papers, 2 with Yale that showed the effectiveness of peer support, and 1 with Boston and Boston VA, and the Center for Defense Excellence with the Pentagon said that vet-to-vet was the most, you know, viable or authentic or effective peer support that the Pentagon had discovered. So I was happy, everything was going good, and I was happy doing that. And then I got assigned, strangely enough, what, 5 or 6 years ago, when was that? I think that was about 5 or 6 years ago. I was also working for VA. So I got assigned to San Francisco, back to San Francisco, which is so strange. I was back in San Francisco after all these years, back, and I still knew people. I still do, still know people back in San Francisco. And I was asked to do peer support, set up peer support from San Francisco to the Oregon border in the Veterans Administration. And so I did that. And then I got the job to come back and be director of recovery and resilience at the VA site here in Connecticut, 2000 something, just a few years ago. And then about 2019, I had retired. 2018, I had kind of retired, but I kept doing the peer support. I never stopped doing peer support. I still am doing peer support. And so what happened then was, in 2019, I was out in San Francisco, and there was all that smoke from the fires, and I was in Sacramento, and I came back to Connecticut, and all of a sudden this strange growth started coming out of the side of my neck. And I had been growing tumors because I'd been exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam. I've been exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam, growing tumors. So I thought, well, this is just another tumor from Agent Orange in Vietnam. And lo and behold, it was stage 4 metastasized cancer, had gotten into my lymph glands. I had to sign these papers that they were just going to nuke me and chemo me. And I was supposed to go to hospice directly and die. But if I signed this paper, they would chemo me and radiate me, and I might live. And I was part of a research project for Columbia University and Yale to see if a person, there were 10 of us, to see if people that were this far gone with cancer could be recovered. And 8 of the 10 died, 1's on oxygen, and I'm holding on. So with that said, then, you know, I'm kind of laid up, and then COVID hit right 2020. What's weird is nobody even knew I was sick, because everybody was locked in the house because of COVID, right? So I'm sick, completely incapacitated by cancer. I've got grab bars all through the house because I've got this stupor from the post-cancer treatment. So I'm stumbling around the house, you know, I'm completely dizzy day and night. You know, I can't stabilize. I have no equilibrium left. I can't pass my food. In other words, I can't poop. You know, they're talking about putting a colostomy bag in me, you know, and everybody else thinks I'm just doing fine because they're all in the house with COVID. So I worked with Baltic Street in New York City to set up peer support with them. And I was, at that time, I was able to stay in the house and do like 6 or 7 support meetings a week, just with the folks in New York City. I only do 1 now, you know, because I'm trying to do other things, you know, in my life rather than just endless support meetings with Baltic Street. so I just kept doing that, and that's where I'm at today. And I'd gotten together with Pam. I had heard about Michigan. As a matter of fact, I was first supposed to go to Michigan and set up something on self-directed care, because I had just written an article about self-directed care for psychiatric rehabilitation services. It was called IAPSPRS then. Now it's called Psychiatric Rehabilitation Association. And I had gone to Michigan a couple of times with IAPSPRS, it was called then. Now it's PRA. And so I think Pam had heard about me through that, or through Marty Raymaker. I don't know. I was supposed to go to Michigan. I was supposed to leave the day that the airplanes, I was living in Boston, right? Working in Massachusetts, living in Boston. The day the planes left for 9/11, they left from Boston. And of course, you can imagine I wasn't going anywhere that day because the whole city of Boston was shut down, and there were these fighter jets like strafing or moving over the Charles River, moving over Boston, because the people who had blown up the World Trade Center had been on an airplane coming from Boston. So then I got delayed, and then Pam made contact with me again. And next thing you know, I was over in Michigan with Pam, and I was having the time of my life. And I was crossing over the border to see Detroit, and Detroit had for the folks from Detroit, when I worked in music, one of my last jobs was I worked for Mr. Jackson, Joe Jackson, Michael's father. So, and I helped put together the Victory Tour with Mr. Jackson. And also I helped promote Billie Jean with Mr. Jackson and Danny Sims. Danny Sims was a record promoter who was in Los Angeles. I worked for Danny and Mr. Jackson. So, and Mr. Jackson always had Detroit stories. Well, he came from Gary, Indiana, but, because he worked with Motown and Berry Gordy, that the Motown office was at Vine and Sunset. And so I would drive, in those days, I had a car, and I'd drive down Vine and go into Mr. Jackson's office, and that was in the same building as Berry Gordy's office. And so, Mr. Jackson he always had these great talks. So, for me, it was very touching, because Motown, of course, being in the Marine Corps at the time of Vietnam and everything, I mean, that's about the only music that was on the radio was Motown. And so that I was able to see Detroit, and I made several pilgrimages to that Motown museum, and still keep all the collection of Motown on my telephone. I don't think there's been anybody, for me, I just know nobody's really done it. I'm just got a Gladys Knight thing, I'm listening to her over and over again. So anyway, it was great for me to be in Michigan and see all the things that I had influenced me in my life, and also get together with Pam, because I felt that Michigan was doing the peer specialist work much better than anybody. I think Michigan's doing it better than anybody I've found. I was on this Pam, you there? Pam, you there? I was on this conference call yesterday. I don't know if Pam's still staying.
Yeah, no, I'm here, Mo.
Okay, I was on this conference call with Dan Fisher yesterday, about planning for the SAMHSA thing, what SAMHSA can do, or what SAMHSA might be able to do, and work with peers and everything. And lo and behold, the big thing was warm lines. Why I just gone through that wonderful training with you, right? I just got through that wonderful training with you on warm lines, and then the buzz last night was, why don't we have more warm lines? And warm lines are only like a few hours a day in most states, and they should be there 24/7. And that's a good job for peers. And even Dan Fisher thought that was a good job for peers. So I'm going to go visit. I'm going to try to go up and visit Howard Trackman, who was on the. You know who Howard is? Yeah, I'm going to go up and visit Howard Trackman in Boston, and see, because I think that we need to do that for veterans.
Yes, I
Flying for
agree.
veterans, and that could be done nationally, right? And remember, I was really blessed because while I'm getting the cancer treatments and while I'm in this hyperbaric tube, took me what, 60 hyperbaric treatments to get me somewhat, I'm still not stable, but to get me somewhat more stable from the cancer treatments. I met this guy who runs a TV recording studio. And so he wants to do peer support. I'm meeting him this afternoon and he wants to nationally for veterans, right? And so, you know, he's got the whole thing there. He does Random House books. So he does all the recordings for Random House and Penguin books. And he's kind of set up to do that. So he and I are going to have a talk on how to do peer support, warm lines, and peer support and warm lines. I think you have to do both. What's going to be ideal for me is if we tie in the peer support and the warm line together, right? So that people are going to the peer support, but then they always have the warm line option. You know, these are the warm line and the peer support are working in tandem together, right? You see what I'm saying? And so, anyway, I want to thank you for that wonderful training that we went to. So that's kind of a little bit of what I'm going to be doing next, I hope. And that's who I am. And I wanted to open it up to you all because many of you have been doing work yourselves and maybe you've got some ideas or maybe you want to let me know something or maybe you just want to say, maybe you just want to say enough of you, but I can go, I'm good with you any way you go. So anyway, I'm just going to open it up for some questions now. Anybody have any questions?
So Mo, what is it that you're exactly doing with SAMHSA? Because when they talk about warm lines, there's this a big controversy going on right now with the 988 number and geolocation where they can ping people where they're at and then send police officers, although some states would send mobile crisis with social workers and peers. So I just wondered if that was part of what your role with Dan Fisher is at the SAMHSA level.
No, I think just getting the warm lines, that does seem to be a controversial thing, but that's something that I think that's something that states for the most part have to determine, right? I mean, a state, you know, some states feel real strongly about, you know, I was amazed. I didn't realize until the call yesterday, you know, well, of course, you know, I wasn't on the inside of this, but I didn't realize how bad, I don't know if it's how bad, but how restrictive mental health had gotten during the past 4 years. You know, so, you know, I didn't realize that it was more of the solution had been anything comes along, just turn them in and shut them out or shut them in or something like that. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but that is a good question that did come up once, but you know, mainly I think that states, I don't know, what's your experience in Michigan? Do you have you had that many crisis calls that you had to deal with it? You've had to call the police or you've had to call 988 or you have CIT, you have I think it was Doug Brinker wrote there in the chat that you have CIT officers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that what
Warm line doesn't, but I'm not sure about the new 988 MyCal number. I haven't looked at those statistics, but I'm going to find out tomorrow.
Okay.
So how many vet to vet chapters are there now? Sort of, it'd be a guess probably across the country.
How many what vet to vet chapter?
Yeah.
I couldn't even say now because, you know, so many, I'm finding out so many have just taken off on their own. They just live on their own. Like I didn't know that vet to vet was all across Missouri, right? I mean, next thing you know, and you know, one of my high school sweethearts, one of the loves of my life in high school, went on, became a career military person and was a what do you call it? A medical doctor, retired medical doctor. And she's still my friend today. And she lives in South Carolina. And she said, vet to vets all over South Carolina. I mean, they, you know, so we had trained all these vet to vet people in Montgomery, Alabama through Tuskegee University, right? And then vet to vet had spread out was in Georgia, and I guess had gone all the way into South Carolina from, but it's kind of like AA. It's so self-driven that that I don't know even all the sites now. LA isn't as booming as it used to be. LA used to have about 20,000 people a year, but what happened in Los Angeles was that all the vet-to-vet people that had done these massive amount of support meetings. I mean, there were vet-to-vet groups going in LA six hours a day, 5 days a week, basically, when Roy Brown was there. And almost all those facilitators with vet-to-vet are now working in the VA as peer specialists. So the VA, I think the VA Los Angeles has something like 20 or 30 peer specialists now working in the VA in Los Angeles. So in a way, what they do is they still do vet-to-vet, because vet-to-vet's based on educational materials, right? Based on bringing the recovery workbook. Or I like Steve Southwick's book on resilience, and that's a very good book, Steve Southwick's book on resilience. So I'm using that now, and I like connectedness. That's another BU book. I've used BU materials. They don't seem to be popular now like they once were, but I still use them. They still seem to hold up. And so, and I don't even know what you've got going in Michigan. I'm of all the people I've met, in Michigan, I found Dave Baker, who's from your state, to be. I'm hoping I can work with him, have him being national facilitator with vet-to-vet. I think Dave Baker in Michigan, what, and I maybe you found this out, I don't know, Pam, but what it looks like to me is if you get like a critical mass of people and they're all generating peer support and they're all talking to each other and they're all doing kind of work together, you just get a lot more advanced ability to connect with people and to do that interactive peer work that peers are able to do so well, as opposed to other people in the other mental health areas. Part of my alternative treatment is receiving what's called cryotherapy, which is liquid nitrogen, cold, freezing liquid nitrogen. And strangely enough, the person who administers the cryotherapy to me, this liquid nitrogen, that's her second job, and she works in the Connecticut mental health world. And at her site, she has 5 peer specialists. And she said 5 years ago, they weren't there. And now the peer specialists are the first line that people go to at the mental health establishment to try to understand or make the situations better, or to improve people's lives that are receiving care or services at their site. So I thought that was interesting. So, sometimes I think that, the peer thing is dragging its feet, that we need more out there. I mean, if what we're hearing is true, that there's an employment vacuum in the mental health establishment, I would think that each one reach one, teach one, it. Yeah, each one reach one, teach one. So if we're in an employment crisis, I always believe that we should look to the people in our programs first and hire them to do a lot of the work that we need done within our mental health system, right? And I believe that from day one. I believe that since I was in New Mexico back in 1984, the people that I found to help me do peer support meetings were the people who had attended the groups and had been with me in the peer support world. They weren't people that I had to go out and recruit from somewhere. They were the people that were right in front of me every day, being with me every day. And I think that peers are really, if there was ever a time for peers to be needed and to be utilized, well, it's now within the mental health system, because there's going to be a lot of with this cancer treatments, I'm astounded at how many people really have, after cancer treatment, serious clinical depression. I mean, serious anxiety stuff, I'm amazed at the post-COVID I've met several what they call long haulers in post-COVID, and they appear to be similar to the long haulers that we have in the cancer world also, like myself. And they have that same groggy fatigue, you know. I mean, I had to take a nap before I'm with you guys today. You know, so I'm kind of with it. You know, so I'm just sharing with you that there's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot of psych stuff. There's a lot of mental health stuff. And then I'll show you this. I guess one of my other next steps, so you see, is I've written, as long as we're talking about this, where we're going next and how we're doing. Oh boy. Let me get this guy here. Wrong one. So anyway, let me get right over to it. So anyway, my next step, you guys can still hear me, is I've written about 20 little plays, see? 20 little plays about ideal situations. Can you guys see me? I can't see myself up there. Can you guys see me? I can't see my picture.
Yeah, we can see you. Or I can, yeah, we can.
Okay, I can't figure out how to get my picture up there, but can you see my little mental health man?
Move him a little closer to the camera. Yes.
I can't see that, huh?
Is that you? Is that your background's blurred, so unless you put it close to the camera, it's hard to see, but I wondered. You have your own. Wow. It's like you're a superhero.
How's that? Can you see it now or? I can't. All right.
Yeah, there he is. I see him. He's cute.
Yeah, he's cute, isn't he? Hi, I'm Mental Health Man. You know, and I want to live in pure nirvana. I want to live in pure Shangri-La. That's what I want. Shangri-La, peers, nothing but peers, surrounded by peers, peers, peers. I want peer ice cream. But anyway, he's going to talk about mental health services and what they could be and how he wants to have those services and how he could get a much better life if he had those services. And so I'm working with a group here called Outreach, and I've got about 20 of these little 2-minute plays written, and then they're going to produce them in video, and then we'll put them out on the internet. How's that sound?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great way to educate with puppets. And anyone who's on your Facebook page, I think, enjoys your puppet shows that you.
I'm having the time of my life, you know. I mean, well, my thing was, hey, if I'm going to be locked in the house with stage 4 terminal cancer and getting over this, I'm going to have the time of my life. You know what I mean? That's my background. There we go. I'm not good at manipulating. There, now on my backline, huh? So anyway, so I do little puppet shows, and of course he'll interact, you know, like maybe the king or the wizard or something will have something he needs to ask mental health. The mental health man be like a fortune teller or something, maybe also, you know, there'd be a variety of opportunities, but I just got to keep the scripts to 2 minutes. And Outreach is it's an organization here which works with people who have psychiatric disabilities. And any of you can become my friends on Facebook. I'm glad to have you as my friends on Facebook. And so, you know, that would be good. And then, you know, those puppet shows I'm doing with them are going to be on their specific page, the Outreach page, so that, you know, that's working with the Department of Mental Health here in the state of Connecticut, called DEMAS, Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. That also seems to be one big thing. They seem to be folding substance abuse into mental health rather than mental health into substance abuse. I don't know. The new SAMHSA. So just, I don't know where all that's going to go. I always believed, you know, that we were the same people just showing up at different doors. So it would be nice to see if we could somewhere have like people trained in both areas that were adept at dealing with both understanding substance abuse and also psychiatric stuff. That would be a dream of mine. I don't think it's too much to ask for. So that'd be so more questions? Yeah. Gene, Bob, you got.
She's on. Okay, I have never met a person in my life that eats, drinks, and sleeps recovery, but you are it. And the one thing part of the best part of your life was Heidi, and you know, maybe you could tell us about a little bit about her.
Well, Heidi saved my life on this one because Heidi found out that all these cancer patients were going under because they couldn't digest the food and they had to have colonostomies and colonoscopy bags, right? So what Heidi did was she studied how to make these green blended drinks, right? And so, you know, so now what I do is my body can only digest green vegetables kind of blended into pulverized. It's more like livestock feed, really, but it's just pulverized and drink that down. So Heidi, you know, Heidi was a peer specialist doing peer work in Mexico, and we met, and I met Heidi's family in Mexico, and I met Heidi in Mexico, and we got together, and we've been together ever since. You know, we've been coming to you in Michigan, and Heidi also went with you, and she studied peer specialist in Michigan. And, you know, and so as a matter of fact, Heidi's on a call right now for the next 2 hours dealing with the state of Connecticut and how to get better services for people who speak Spanish in the state of Connecticut. So every Thursday from 12 to 2, Heidi's working with the state of Connecticut and how to improve services, mental health services, and some substance abuse, but mainly mental health services for people who speak Spanish in Connecticut. Yes. And Heidi's been a great person. And you know, it's just, Heidi was always just a hardworking person. I mean, you know, that's what I've always said to people, being a peer is a job, you know, and we do our job as peers, you know. I mean, I think some people, they thought that being a peer was being a guru or being, you know, or being a prophet or something, I don't know, or being something. But anyway, you know, it's a system where just because we're peers and we walk in, sometimes people don't listen to us, you know, or sometimes people don't want to hear us or something like that. And so we have to find out ways that we can be heard and, you know, and do that in a non-caustic way. Because mental health, I mean, what mental health goes back to what, before the Civil War, I think it was 1840. Dorothea Dix had a psychiatric breakdown in England and went to Tuke's Retreat. And then she came back to Boston, I think it was before the Civil War in 1840. And she put together the first asylum, which is still there in Boston. So mental health started off in asylums and kept in asylums up until about the 60s. You know, so even what we're doing with peer support today is kind of a new, in the history of mental health, is new. And so people aren't comfortable with that, or people aren't used to peers. You know, we're kind of, I always tell people we need to look to social work. You know, Jane Addams, it took her forever to get social work accepted in the mental health world. And I think our time has come. I mean, I think the time for peers is here, and I think there'll be more and more peers working in mental health. Yeah. And Heidi's now got the chance to work as a Spanish speaking peer in mental health here in Connecticut. So that's even an addition. That's kind of an update for you. Heidi's I'm married to Heidi. Heidi and I have been married 15 years now. Been a good 15 years. Best 15 years of everything. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else got anything they want to talk about, think about? Search Moe Armstrong on Facebook. Thanks, Pam. Do you have a family? Yeah, I have a family, but mainly it's my sister. I wanted to retire. I would call myself a hillbilly. I would, I wanted to retire in the mountains of Virginia and just sing my little country songs, sing my little, sing my little, hey, Railroad Bill and all those old songs I love. And so I bought a retirement place there, but I couldn't live there because I kept like working. And then finally I got too sick to go there. So I let my sister live at the place. So my sister lives at the place and she's also a peer specialist. My sister is a licensed social worker, but then she had a major psychiatric break. She completed college, she completed everything, but she couldn't continue working. And now she's a peer specialist in those mountains down there of Virginia and Appalachia. And she lives there with her son, and they grow fresh vegetables on the land and sell them in the farmers markets. And that's how they support themselves.
So Mo, we have quite a few peer recovery coaches who work with people with substance use and harm reduction and do a lot of that. And are you helping out in New York with people who are working in recovery for substance use?
all through the VA too. All through the VA. The VA is really not into harm reduction model, unfortunately, so the VA is not, but at the same time, we try to implement that consciousness within the VA because you can imagine how strung out I got working in music. Man, at the end there, man, I was on a roll, I was out there in Columbia, I was doing 3 to 5 grams of cocaine a day and a pound of pot a month. So, I was really rolling it, and I had mushrooms in the refrigerator just to kind of keep me going. So, I substance abuse I was very familiar with, it was something that had a big impact on my life. And so I didn't give it up overnight. You know what I mean? And so most people don't realize that it's a slow, it's a slow process, right? It's not like, well, I'm not doing mushrooms anymore, or the cocaine, man, that was hard. Getting rid of that stuff was hard, and so, that took a while. And that's what the establishment doesn't seem to understand. But see, if you're paying somebody, I don't know what a therapist's hours are today, but one of the things I was reading about employment in the mental health system today is many therapists are getting $250 an hour off insurance, right? And so we don't have that kind of money to throw at things. That's why we need to fill this thing with peer specialists, because to transition off, to get what I call sane, the 4 S's: sane, stable, safe, sober. 4 S's: sane, stable, safe, sober. People ask me what recovery is. I say sane, stable, safe, sober. Those are the 4 things that recovery is: sane, stable, safe, sober. So to get a person on that, you got to have a lot of one-on-one time. This is just like, oh boy, I'm off this stuff, and hey, I'm on easy street now. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of effort on the peer's part, and a lot of effort on the person who's trying to recover from addiction. This is not something, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's TV. We keep thinking there's some kind of miracle, like people walk into the room and we say something profound, and then the person's transformed forever, and we never have to worry about that person again, right? And so that is total fiction, right? The reality is it takes people working with people side by side for years on end. And our system hasn't been thinking like that. They kind of want an instant fix. And our system, I don't know what it's like out there with you guys, but I can tell you, when I was working on Medicaid planning in Massachusetts, I was horrified because they kept thinking that whoever was in the system, that was going to be it. And I kept saying, we are in a continuum. There'll be new generations of people coming into our system, and we need to be planning and preparing for them, right? This isn't just like when this group gets sane, stable, safe, and sober, we don't have any more people coming into our system. On the contrary, we're going to have generation after generation coming into the system. People are going to be going through this process, and we need to be there for them year after year. It's not going to quit just because the people that we worked with right now got sane, stable, safe, and sober. It's that there are going to be more and more people coming in all the time. And this COVID, it ain't helping at all. I'm telling you right now, this is, this COVID. I mean, people are hurting out there. They don't know what, they're like me with the cancer. Like one day I'm okay, and I don't know what, I still am trying to get my head around what happened to me. You know what I mean? So, and COVID just as bad. So, and they're depressed and they're anxious, and many of them can't return to work. I mean, supported employment is a great option. You know what? I think that many times people that are out there, they don't realize that we in our mental health system have something to offer. We know how to do things. We know how to restore people. We know how to get people into recovery. We know how to help with their resilience, for God's sake. Come to us and learn. Supported employment, great opportunity. Supported employment could be, a lot of people who have COVID are going to need this. They're going to be returning to the work job with the full oomph that they had when they left.
Hey, Mo.
Yeah.
I was listening in. Me and my sponsor was having a conversation just the other day, and he has this huge sense of humor, but what he said made a lot of sense. He said that two things that are never going to go anywhere. One is prostitution, and the other one is drugs. We're going to have drugs and we're going to have prostitution forever. So the field of peer support specialists, recovery coaches, the field is going to bust wide open. It's just never going to leave again. It's not going anywhere because they're having more and more and more issues with fentanyl. They got this new thing coming to Michigan. It's called monkey something or another. It's just so, yes, it's so much, so there's going to be a need for recovery coaches and peers forevermore.
Well, that's another thing. I couldn't believe in the cancer wards. I'm there, and people are getting 2 fentanyl patches at a time before they even get out the door. So I'm going, my God, how are we going to get these people off this fentanyl when they're done with the cancer treatments, right? And almost everybody who's going through cancer is taking fentanyl. And then we're going to have to detox people right and left. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people are, look it up, millions of people a year are getting cancer treatments, right? And they're all getting fentanyl patches. And it's almost to the point of ridiculousness. Like one woman was trying to get out the door, and the nurse says, "Oh, honey, you need another one of these." And she slapped another fentanyl patch on her other arm. You know what I mean? "Oh, honey, you need another one of these." I'm going, "Baby." She says, "You don't want this?" I said, "No, ma'am, I don't want that." I got enough trouble right now. I can't get into fentanyl now. I'm 78 years old. I can't be getting into fentanyl. For God Almighty. Yeah. So, we got to get real out here. This stuff's epidemic. This isn't just like, a couple of kids in the neighborhood. This stuff is epidemic. This stuff's all over. And I think that what happens is we haven't had a real discussion about how many people are getting loaded in this country. And so what we need to do is have, and the biggest drug of all is the booze in the supermarkets. You go to a supermarket, 30% of the space is dedicated to booze. Right, you get booze, you get fresh fruits and vegetables. So I'm telling you right now, if that's the situation, we got trouble in America, and we better start to face it, and we better start to mobilize our people. So that's why I wanted to do something like the Peace Corps or Conservation Corps, or maybe we need a Recovery Corps. Where the federal government actually has. I thought federal government has people that they do this job federally to get our people dried out, for God's sake. Yeah, you go out there in America, man, and it's not, it's not Ozzie and Harriet, I can tell you that. It's not Leave It to Beaver. It's pretty murky. And then you got the intergenerational abuse, and you got the drunk parents beating up on the kids, and the next thing you know, they're nipping and taking whatever the parents are taking, you know, and they're growing up to be the next generation. Yeah, that's my world that I see.
Like generational trauma.
Yeah, there's generational trauma, and you know, there's generational addiction. Well, you know, Steve Southwick, I found this strange. Steve Southwick, that wrote the book on resilience, and I've always thought the world of Steve. He was a friend of mine. Steve found out when he was the guy who he was on the team that discovered the diagnosis of post-traumatic stress, Steve Southwick, okay? So what Steve and his team found out from veterans working in the VA, right? And Steve found this out, that there's a genetic transference, that a genetic thing gets messed up and the trauma actually gets transferred genetically, so that veterans with post-traumatic stress end up transmitting it to their children genetically, actually. That's what Steve's, but that particular study has been buried. That wars are causing and wars are causing intergenerational trauma, but it would make sense then that you would also see intergenerational trauma just from Heidi, who never went to war but grew up in a military family and a very abusive family. She comes from a lot of trauma, you know, from her stepfather, who ran the house like, you know, like a military dictator, really, beating the kids and doing all this stuff and growing opium leaves in the patio. He was a Mexican military, but you know, so he was addicted and violent and abusive. So, you know, she's had to do a lot of work to stabilize from that also. So yeah, we're finding this to be true. We're finding this generation after generation after generation. The only way I think to break it is really intensive work by a lot of other peers who are sane, stable, safe, and sober, and want to get others sane, stable, safe, and sober. And what I found strange is, and I still find it strange, is that the people I encountered that were in our mental health world that were receiving care wanted to be the ones who give. I met more people who wanted to give back. You know, most of the time in the mental health establishment, those of us who have any kind of conditions are seen as kind of suspect, like maybe we're really using secretly, or maybe we're not telling the truth, or maybe we aren't on the up and up, or something like that. But I found that people wanted to get, all I heard was people wanted to give back, people wanted to help others. And my job was to open that door so that people could do that, right? And that's why I think I've always had luck building capacity, right? Like when I got sent to San Francisco, I had peer support within a year going from San Francisco to the Oregon border, right? They were all, the mental health establishment that I was working at the VA hospital, they were all trying to recruit some peers that they had seen or come through their lives, right? I was trying to just look and work with the peers that were right in our program, right in front of us, that were going to groups every day, right? And recruit them. And from that, I had success. I wasn't looking for some ideal peer, you know, that was out there, right? I was looking for everyday people who were struggling. And from that, I think now San Francisco, I was the only peer specialist. I think San Francisco now has something like 10 peer specialists. After I left, they have, you know, they increased capacity. And that's, they finally got that together, that the people that are in our programs are the next generation of peer specialists. It's not some kind of magical person out there that we need to look for or hunt down. It's the people who are attending our programs. Any other questions? Ideas? Do I make sense? Maybe I don't. Any other ideas? Any other comments? I'm not. Anybody else have anything to add here? Any thoughts? How's it going for your lives? Are you able to do this work yourself? You feel good about it? Feel like you're making an impact, a difference?
Hi, my name is Tony.
Hi.
I put in a chat already, but I've been a peer since 2018. I'm 6 years in recovery. I suffer from mental health illness. I take my medication, see a therapist and a psychiatrist. And I find that I have a huge impact on the people that I meet and I service every day. And it's just part of my day. My goal every day is to try to, have a great positive impact on at least one person a day. I used to try to save everybody. But my mentor had to remind me that you can just try to save one person a day, just try to have an impact in at least one person's life a day. So I'm strong about recovery and mental health. Like, it's very important to me. It's a passion of mine. I became a peer support so that I could help others get better. And so, yeah, I love what I do. And it's a pleasure hearing your story. And you're a great guy. Keep doing what you're doing. And you're very strong as well.
Well, thanks. I want it to work for all of us. Like I said, it's a job and it's a skill, right? I mean, I know you do tests over there in Michigan, but I was always a big believer in on-the-job training. So I always wanted to have peers. It was like being a musician, like, could you go to the site and actually connect with people? Could you go to the site? Because we also have to get along with the other coworkers, right? And I mean, I've been on some clinical teams that were like, I mean, the nurses, they didn't want to see me at all. They didn't want to hear anything about peer, peer nothing, I know that's true because one time I went out on a blind date with a psychologist, and she said, "I'm with people with you all day long. Why would I want to come home to somebody like you?" So, so I got the message, right? So there's always been this kind of weird distancing, and so I have to learn to adjust to, people on the team and people in the programs. It's a balance, it's a balance, and it's a delicate balance. And, and so, I always wanted to have kind of a sponsorship of an OJT, 6-month sponsorship, and have that be kind of the real test, but that never really took off. But yeah, I'm glad it's working for you, and I'm glad you feel comfortable doing it. And, that's a good pacing, I think, one person a day. Yes.
Mo.
Yeah.
I had a guy tell me once, he said that, Bob, you have a gift, he said, you can make people laugh and you have a gift. And so I got all strutty and I got, well, gee, thanks a lot. He said, what the hell you think? It's a gift. It was given to you. You didn't earn it. You didn't do nothing. It's a gift. Only thing you can do is screw it up. And I thought, yeah, I guess that's true. I'm the only, when you do have a gift, it's a gift. It's given to you. You didn't do nothing to earn it, and your gift is been just developing for so many years that I'm just proud to know you.
Well, thanks, Bob. Also I realize that this is a gift that many others want to do. And my job is to make sure that they get that opportunity. My job is to open the door for others so that they can do that. I'm amazed, like I say, at the amount of people. I go to the team meetings, right? And I hear many times that people in the team meetings think that the people in our programs are scheming or doing something, or they're up to something, you know what I mean? And so, and then when I go out there, I find out that everybody is figuring a way to get stable and safe and sober, but they don't know how. And the minute they get there, they want to go back and help others, right? And that's in mass. That's not just a couple of isolated people. That's in mass. That's hundreds of people. And I mean, I've been all over the country. It's the same wherever I go, Nebraska to California to Montgomery, Alabama, to over here in the Northeast. And Michigan probably too, wherever I go, that's all people tell me, man, if I get sane, stable, safe, and sober, I'd go back and help the others. I'm getting sane, stable, safe, and sober. I'm going to try to get over now. I never hear that. All I hear is I want to go back and help the others. And so I think our job as peer specialists also is just to keep recruiting and getting people, and, thank God, really, or thank God, that you are in Michigan, because, in Michigan, you have the ability to increase capacity. Some states are not. What are you up to now, Pam? 2,500 peers? I don't know. And with recovery people, I don't know. What do you got in Michigan now?
About 2,700 and
2,700.
1,000 peers and peer recovery coaches. Huge
20
workforce and lots of trainings all the time, especially for peer recovery coaches. Just a large hiring process, because people now know they can transform the system, and people get better when they work with peers.
And you've got a critical mass. See, I was hearing complaints yesterday from some on the group that there were these peers, and then when they got in, they were the new overseers, and they were trying to get the others in line, and they really weren't peers. And I said, that's because we don't have a critical mass. You got to have a critical mass. You got one peer working at one agency doing this. Why, that person's not going to be an optimal, working at optimal, what I would call helpfulness. Let's call it helpfulness, right? Optimal helpfulness. But if you have a critical mass, you got 2,700, you got welcome centers all across the state, you got people doing peer work on a variety of different mental health initiatives or programs, then that seems to be where you really make it happen.
Well, even though it seems like we're ahead, we have over 150,000 adults with a mental health condition served by the system, and 85,000 served by the public system, and 85,000 people with substance use and other conditions. So that peer workforce, it's obvious that not everybody gets that choice to work with a peer because of how many people that we have. So I still think we're not way ahead, that's for sure.
Way ahead of the United States, but you're not where you should be as far as getting people sane, stable, safe, and sober. No, you're not. And that's going to take a while. Like I said, I always look to Jane Addams when she started social work. I've forgotten, out of Chicago now, a whole house. It took her 100 years to get social work accepted. I don't know. Maybe we're looking about the same timeline for peers. I can't say. If that's an equivalent thing, but it's going to happen because, eventually we're going to have everybody like pushing to make it happen, right? Pushing to make it happen. And, I always like the idea of a city core, where we employed people like building up our inner cities, or a conservation corps, where we employed people like working in our rural areas to clean up rivers and replant the land. What's this? Oh, what happened there? It's got a screen coming up. Eileen shared the screen. What's going on? Am I still with you?
I'm trying to figure this out. I was trying to do a message for everyone, and it kept going to Pam, and so I shouldn't have done anything. I must have messed something up. Did I mess everybody's up?
I don't know. I got more than meetings.
There should be a place on there where you can stop share. Maybe at the top of your screen.
It went to a total different,
well, it also may be, it might be the,
wait, whatever you did back then worked.
Perfect.
Yeah, it worked.
We're also at the end for a break, and then we have our last one at 1 o'clock. So I'm not sure if the facilitator and the MiPeer support might have been sharing something, but anyway, Eileen, did you have something you wanted to say before we break?
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know if you can. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I just want, I put on there that when you were talking way back, that my husband, I was diagnosed with having bipolar at 49. And my husband always says, Eileen, everybody has something. So that kind of helps me. But that's all. I didn't need to share anything else. You're doing a great job, Mo. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mo,
mute,
for
Mo.
again bringing your wisdom to Michigan and sharing many of your stories. And I do have to end and say that I did not know that you won the twist contest in high school, but that's still, to me, not as impressive as the picture you have of you and Joan Baez on the campsite in, I don't know what state it was. I actually saved that when you posted it on Facebook.
Yes, and don't forget him opening for Pink Floyd in Paris.
Yes.
Talk about an interesting life.
Yes, and that was wasn't that Daddy Longlegs, the group that you were with? Oh, you're on mute, Mo.
Yeah, I'm doing a video now about Daddy Longlegs, a little half an hour. So when I get that out on YouTube, I'll let you know about it, okay? It's so funny because I just found out yesterday one of the original members of Daddy Longlegs died. Monday. So kind of brokenhearted about it really last night. I'm recovering today, but so just me and the bass player left, me and Kurt Palamaki. I don't know how long he's gonna last, but anyway, yeah, we're doing a video on Daddy Longlegs in Europe, and that's gonna be, I'll let you know when that is. Those were good times. The thing is though that all those were big splashes, and in the end it's just the everyday stuff that counts, right? Just go to work every day, be glad you're there, enjoy the people that you're with, and try to make the best of the job that's ahead of you. I'm an old battlefield medic, and what I said on those days in Vietnam is what I still say today, is we're all coming out of this alive. And if I just focus on that, we're all coming out of this alive. The course that we need to take and the paths that we need to take all fall into place. And and many of those will be wellness techniques that you're going to learn from RAP plans and also personal life experience and peer support, because you're going to have to learn, and the people in your programs that you're working with are going to have to learn as rapidly as possible how to keep themselves sane, stable, and sober. And that's going to require wellness techniques. And they're going to have to learn like how to live differently, how to get enough sleep, how to get enough rest, how to eat differently, how to take care of ourselves, how to rest along the way, how to keep ourselves from burning out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And those are all skills that we need to learn from each other. Those aren't skills that necessarily you can get taught. Those are skills that we need to learn from other people or get renewed along the way. All right, enough for me, huh?
Thank you, Mo.
My pitch for self-care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Pam. Hey, Gene, good to see you. Bob, Doug, good to see you. Eileen, nice to meet you. And everyone else.
Thank you, Mo. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. I really appreciate it. It's good to be there with you, and let's see, who was that other fellow there that had the discussion with? Did he leave? Oh yeah, William. See you later, William.
Nice meeting you, Mo.
Thank you. Take care.